Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to Tarra Stubbins. She is a founder, CEO, and success catalyst. Her business is the Take It Easy Group. She is a fractional executive assistant and chief of staff who partners with goal-driven founders to launch their businesses to the next level. She's going to turn your next big goal into a reality. I'm going to let her go through her background story because it is amazing as far as the people she's worked with, the experiences she's had. She is known for her no-nonsense, purpose-driven approach and specializes in really empowering individuals to achieve their personal and professional goals by transforming daily ineffective multitasking habits and introducing more proven techniques to really help people be successful. So thank you so much, Tara, for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
So I know when we had pre-chatted before we recorded and everything, you shared your journey with me, and I was just amazed by all the different people you've worked with and things you've done. So if you can walk us through some of that, just to kind of see everything that you're bringing into your experiences.
Yeah. So I'll go way back. So when I was younger, I used to have a shirt that said, "Remember me, I'm going to be a star." And I wore that shirt everywhere to the point where it disintegrated. But the problem is in my very young, like 7, 8-year-old kind of undeveloped mind, I always thought that being a star was being a rock star. So singing, dancing, playing a musical instrument, being up in front of millions of people. I have no idea why I thought that, because I had no real musicians in my family, but for some reason, that's what I thought. And the problem is that I had very, very little musical talent. I loved music, but can't sing, can't dance. You can see this guitar behind me. When I play it, it kind of sounds like a dying animal. I just don't have the skills. Didn't back then, still don't now. And so I thought, well, there goes my big dream. I'm just going to throw it out. I'm just going to be, a normal human being, I guess, like with no big dreams. But for some reason, and I think it was women's intuition, even at a young age, I held on to a very, very small part of it. And I, walked around with it every day. And when those pivotal moments in life came up where you have to make those big decisions, am I going to go this way or am I going to go this way? I remembered, oh yeah, I wanted to be a rock star. That's cool. Still can't dance, still can't sing, but maybe I can, force my life decisions this way. So I never ended up being a rock star up on stage, but I got to support and be a personal assistant and the manager for some of the world's most influential and successful rock stars, such as Mick Jagger, Lady Gaga, some big business people, such as Richard Branson, some actors such as Sandra Bullock. And so I really got to embed myself into the lives of these rock stars. And because I was so fascinated in why them, like, why did they get the musical talent and not me? I started thinking, like, what made them successful. And I was so passionate. I was like a sponge on their day to day of, what are they doing to build this success and maintain this success? So then when I came off the road, I was like, I have all these really cool insights into success and what builds success. And I just want to share it with as many people as I possibly can. So that kind of brings us up to today.
Yeah, no, I love that because it's like people always assume the job they start, is where they're going to stay and not allowing sometimes for those pivots and where life takes us. I think we can almost miss out sometimes on just so many different opportunities as opposed to having that open mindset of who knows where this is going to go. But, it always has its purpose, it always has its meaning, those different kinds of pivots and things like that. So when you start working with someone, what are kind of some of the common things that you see tripping people up when it comes to achieving that level of success and reaching their goals?
I would say the number one thing is not being authentic to your true self.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people come to me and they have just read the most popular book from like a CEO who has just launched and has this very specific morning routine that apparently has created success. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, I'm copying this morning routine and I can't, I'm still not successful. And I'm really tired because I'm getting up at 4 a.m. And I always find that people are trying to copy other people's success and not being their own true version of themselves. What works for Mick Jagger or Richard Branson, you can take snippets of, but trying to copy their everyday, or even if you see a really successful, person, maybe you're working with, maybe your manager, or maybe your neighbor is running a really cool business and you're like, I want to copy everything that they do. Not being authentic to yourself is only going to take you to a kind of a certain level of success. And it's going to be really hard to get over that hump.
Yeah, absolutely. I always try and say, just because something works for one person, we all have such different lives. And even myself, like it looks different from day to day. There
Yeah.
isn't always one set thing. But when it comes to finding, I think our authentic self or knowing even ourselves enough to know what do I like? What don't I like? I don't always think we take the time to really invest in finding that out. And you're nodding your head like, yeah, that is something you see. So how do you help someone when they're like, well, I don't know what I should be doing? How do they find what really is true to them, or how do they know if something's really resonating?
It's really interesting. When I started putting myself out there to give, keynote presentations and workshops, I always talk about how anyone can achieve their goals, just understanding what to do on a day to day basis. And I would always ask the room, you have a big goal, right? What's your goal? And a lot of times people would say, I don't have a goal. I don't know what to do. And that would shock me because I was like, how could no one have a goal? But as I got deeper into this whole kind of discovery of helping people achieve their goals, I did understand that people and learn that people get stuck thinking that I have to set a really big goal, or my goal is silly, so I'm just going to forget about it, or I just want to live a quiet, simple life. Is that a goal? And
Mhm.
so people, I think, have trouble defining goals, and they think that being having a big goal is I want to make millions of dollars a year, or I want to run the most successful business, or I want to be, start this side hustle, or whatever it is. And it can be a goal, can be something as simple as I just want to spend more time with my kids, or I want to be the best mom in the school group, or I want to be the best volunteer, or give as much time as I can volunteering, whatever it is. All those things are goals. So I
Mhm.
think starting out is really trying to figure out like what makes you happy. What
Yeah.
kind of life do you see yourself living? And I don't even say in 30 years from now, in 5 years. Where do
Mhm.
you see yourself? Is it sipping margaritas on a beach doing absolutely nothing? Okay, great. Let's maybe work towards that somehow. Is it, running around after your kids and reading them bedtime stories? Great. Let's work towards that. So I think really identifying again, like what is unique to you, and not being scared that a goal is too simple or too big or too powerful or not powerful enough. Again, kind of leaning into your own authentic self. I find journaling really helps. I find sitting in quiet spaces where you're not being distracted with what other people are doing, and can really come into terms of like, what is it that I actually want?
Right. And, as you were sharing kind of those different versions of what people say, you could hear the difference between, I want $1 million. I want a business, they're very generic versus the personal. I want to read my kids a
Yeah.
bedtime story. You might even know exactly what story. I remember for me at one point being able to have the time to enjoy my coffee at home in a regular ceramic mug rather than always having it in a to-go mug was something that I wanted to try
I
and do.
love
And
that.
I do that now. Like I've carved out time where I just sit before I leave and start my day and just enjoy my coffee in a regular mug. Because I know it sounds silly, but that just felt like the luxury of time, to be
Yeah.
able to have the time and space to do that and not be on the go. And so that was something I really wanted.
Yeah, I think so. Setting those goals, and again, not being shy of it being personal, it being business, it being small, being large is so important. I have a favorite quote that I love sharing, and it's by an anonymous person. And it's, if anyone ever tells you that your dreams are silly, remember that there's someone, a millionaire, walking around who invented the pool noodle. And I
Mhm.
love that because, like, imagine being the person who invented the pool noodle, being like, I'm going to invent this thing. It's foam. It looks like a noodle. It goes in pools. And people would be like, what are you talking about? But they
Mhm.
kind of stuck to it. And now look at whoever it is.
Exactly. They're everywhere and they're used for so many different things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm. So when it comes to then launching a business, even specifically, honestly, I think we have this idea of what it means to own and run a business versus the reality sometimes of, there's days I am all the roles from janitor on up. And so how do you help people then when it comes to focusing on that goal, really help step into that next level version of themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I could probably talk for 3 hours or more about that. So I'll try to keep it simple. But really, I'm a true believer in the fact that, again, kind of a work life balance that we see being thrown around a lot is something that you have to define yourself. And
Mhm.
it's not something that you should strive for because you see other people wanting a work life balance of 4 hours a day, not like working, and then the rest is like not working, or 2 hours a day or a week working. And, it has to be kind of what you can carve out again and being your own true authentic self. That I feel like that's the theme here. But then actually realizing that to get to a point of that success, that whatever your goal is, if you have big goals, you are going to have to work hard to get to those big goals. And maybe the work life balance that you are imagining is not going to come now to be able to reach those big goals. So really being able to understand kind of the sacrifices that you have to make to actually achieve the goals, and if you are willing to do it. Some people aren't willing to do it and they try to push themselves to achieve their goals, and they're incredibly unhappy because that's not actually the life that they want to live. And so, it's being able to align what your goal is with what you are willing to sacrifice now to get to that big goal. So that's one thing. Once you're in the place where you really understand that, okay, I am ready to sacrifice, I'm ready to be everything in my business, I'm ready to take this to the next level, then it's understanding the act of delegation. And
Mhm.
a lot of people think that I'm just going to do it all myself and everything is going to be great. And I am a huge believer in that anybody can delegate, no matter if you have money or not, because you can barter services or you can bake banana bread for your neighbors to come and help you. There is always a way to get a little bit of extra time in your day so you can truly focus on what matters. And being around those celebrities, as I shared in the beginning, one of the secrets that I saw to all of their successes, no matter who they were, and all of the people that I've been able to support, was that they understand how to focus their time on a day-to-day basis to achieve those goals, and they don't let anything get in the way of that focused time.
Mhm.
And the only way they can do that is to delegate out the stuff that gets in the way.
Yeah, and it's so hard, especially when we feel like, that's our baby. No one else is going to care as much as we do. Nobody else is going to do it the same way we do. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's the point. We're not all great at everything. And so to be able to delegate to someone that that's their specialty and they can own it and run with it can probably help you be more successful than trying to piecemeal it all together yourself.
Yeah, and understanding that big businesses are not built with the founder or the CEO doing everything. The leader, the head of the business is concentrating on high priority strategies and implementation of those strategies and not answering an email or doing bookkeeping. So I get pushback a lot, and people will tell me, well, I love being able to be in my inbox or schedule my own meetings or even do my own bookkeeping. Like, I run an accounting business. I love it. And it doesn't matter kind of what you love, it's really where your time is best spent. So is your time best spent bookkeeping or sending those emails, or is your time best spent making some sales calls or designing a big strategy partnership or whatever it is? So really understanding your ROI on a minute by minute basis is what builds big businesses.
Yeah, no, I love just how actionable and simple everything you're sharing is. And so, as a business owner yourself, what are some of the practices that you feel really help keep you consistent in working towards those goals you have?
That is a great question. And I have to say that I have fought with myself a lot on this. And as you shared earlier, it changes almost every day. And the reason why I would fight with myself about this is because sometimes I would tell people, you have to time block, and then I wouldn't be following my time block. Or I would tell people, you have to do this, and then I wouldn't be doing that. And then I would be like, I'm a fraud. But then when I realized that time blocking might work for this person, and that's why I'm sharing it with them, and this might work for this person, again, really understanding what works for me. So
Right.
I can share what I do, but again, I don't want people copying what I do. I really want people to understand and find what works for them. But what does actually work for me is following absolutely everything on my calendar. I don't make to-do lists. I put tasks on my Google Calendar for everything that I have to do, and I fit them into my specific blocks. If they're on a task to-do list somewhere, I never get to them. I
Mhm.
also don't strive for inbox zero. I know that maybe people will go, oh no, what are you doing? But I find that it's a bit of a waste of time, because as soon as you get to inbox zero, you're going to get another 6 emails anyway. I do strive for an organized inbox and making sure that tasks are being delegated to someone or I'm handling them correctly. But in inbox zero, to me, doesn't make sense. And for me, I absolutely love giving back to my community. So that's where I get a big rise in my energy. And it may seem like work to other people, but for me, it actually energizes me. So I try to give back, whether it's a free coaching call or podcasts or just helping someone along the way. I really reach out and try to do that on a day-to-day basis so I can actually get more energy to keep continuing to run my business.
Yeah, no, I love that. Giving back, volunteering is a huge form of self-care that I think that's why it lights you up, because it is so recharging and rejuvenating. You may think, well, I'm putting my energy towards someone else, but we always get it back 10 times more. As well as I always love to talk about gratitude as another like underutilized form of self-care. And I would love to hear, what would you say are some of the things that you're the most grateful for?
That's actually really interesting, because I struggled with gratitude a lot because I have a very tactical, as probably you can tell, mind of like, I want to be told to be successful, send 100 cold emails a day or whatever, and then I'll follow that along. So if you tell me what to do, I do it. So people were telling me, write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And so I would do it, but I would never see any difference. And it
Mhm.
was because I was just doing it to do it. And, I
Right,
am grateful for my cats. I'm grateful for my coffee. And it was just a task. It wasn't actually me lighting me up to be grateful. And
right.
until I actually made that switch, which may seem so easy for some people, but it took me a long time to get there. I always thought the practice of gratitude was just like baloney that people were just talking about and didn't work. But as soon as I made that switch of like, actually being grateful and kind of raising my vibrations and kind of giving back and being on that other path, I was like, oh yeah, of course this works. So it was a very interesting journey for me. And I actually talk about gratitude a lot. And I ask my staff in our weekly team meetings what they're grateful for. We share what we're grateful for every week. So right now I am absolutely grateful for, and I talk about this all the time, we went on a bit of a roller coaster business journey this year. And I'm really grateful for the people who stuck by me and really had my back so we could get to this big business goal that we had that no one actually thought that we were going to achieve. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the people who are like right there believing in me as well. And so on a day-to-day basis, these days, I'm super grateful for them.
That's awesome. And I loved that you shared that example of the fact that, initially it was just checking items off to-do lists. So many times when I talk to people, they're like, well, I started practicing yoga, I was doing meditation, and they felt like they were just going through these motions and not necessarily getting the benefits of any of it or feeling anything, which is why, like when I work with people, we always start with mindset. Because you have to think differently before you feel differently. When you feel differently, you act differently. And like you said, you really need to just buy into it, not just from a doing standpoint, but from a thinking and feeling standpoint in order for those actions to have any meaning at all.
Totally. I did the exact same thing with like kind of positive affirmations as well and changing my beliefs. So when I was going through building my business and going through some really hard financial times, I was like, okay, there has to be a money block here somewhere because I'm going through the right steps. We're building the right business. We have the right foundation. What is happening? And of course, I would Google like, what are money blocks? I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And until I could actually pinpoint what my own specific unique ones were, nothing was changing.
Yeah. So I can definitely see, like I said, the connection between the way you help people with your coaching, the way you help them kind of not only identify their goals, but really feel into them, have that passion behind the goal that they're setting in order to have the transformation have any kind of meaning. And you definitely kind of practice what you preach in that sense. And so how can people find you, Tarra? How can they work with you?
Yeah, so my company is called Take It Easy Group. We're at takeiteasygroup.com. And you can also find me online on Instagram at the Take It Easy Group. And my personal one is Tarra with 2 R's, Tarra's Time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tarra, for joining us today. I loved everything that you shared, and I'm looking forward to coming back and re-listening to this episode so I can start actualizing those same types of principles for myself as well.
I love it. Thanks so much for having me. I hope we can chat again soon.
Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.